Take a look at this. This is my credit card statement from last month here in London, $2,400. More than half of it vanished into meaningless things that I can't even remember buying. A late-night Uber here, an overpriced subscription there, and a constant stream of premium coffees that I just grabbed without thinking. Sound familiar? We're told that the system is rigged, that inflation is too high, and that buying a house is impossible for our generation. But looking at this piece of paper, I realized a brutal truth. I didn't have an income problem. I had an awareness problem. So I decided to do something absolutely insane. For the next 30 days, I'm putting my comfortable, modern life on the line. I am adopting the strict, uncompromising, no-spend rules of the world's self-made millionaires as my ultimate survival guide. Here's the deal. No upgrading my tech just because a new model drops. No spending money to impress coworkers or friends. No automated emotional retail therapy on Amazon. And absolutely zero credit card debt allowed. I wanted to see if the financial textbooks were right. Can a regular person actually build real wealth just by changing their micro decisions? Or is the gap between the rich and the rest of us too wide to close? Well, the 30 days are officially over, and let me tell you, the results caught me completely off guard. By freezing my modern consumer habits, I managed to save a literal fortune in just 4 weeks. But it wasn't a free lunch. The deeper I went into the habits of the ultra-wealthy, the more I realized that true financial discipline requires a massive trade-off. It's sweet fahui. It almost completely destroyed my social life, forced me to face my deepest insecurities, and alienated the people closest to me. Welcome to day one. Let me show you exactly how the honeymoon period began and how quickly the cracks started to show. To survive this challenge, I couldn't just rely on sheer willpower. Willpower is a finite resource, and modern marketing knows exactly how to drain it. I needed an unshakable system. On day one, I built a digital fortress. I installed heavy-duty ad blockers, permanently deleted the Amazon and Uber Eats app from my phone, and turned off every single flash sale notification. Next, I set up a raw, automated tracking spreadsheet. Every single penny, every microtransaction had to be manually typed in. No automated banking sync to shield my feelings anymore. If I spent money, I had to look it in the eye. Finally, the ultimate rule. My credit cards were locked in a drawer. If I didn't have the physical cash or debit balance, I couldn't buy it. Period. Days 1 through 10 felt like a financial honeymoon. Honestly, it was a massive rush. For the first time in years, I felt like I was completely in the driver's seat of my own life. I woke up earlier, prepped my meals for the week, and started brewing my own coffee at home, pouring it into an old travel mug before heading out the door. Now, let's look at the math here, because this is where your brain completely underestimates reality. In London or New York, a decent daily coffee costs about $7. It feels like nothing at the counter, but $7 a day, 365 days a year, is over $2,500 annually. If you simply take that exact $7 a day and route it automatically into a basic index fund compounding at an average historic return of 8%, do you know what happens? In 30 years, that tiny, thoughtless daily habit transforms into over $69,000. Think about that. $69,000 left on a cafe counter, all because we want a quick hit of convenience. Seeing that reality on my tracking spreadsheet made me feel invincible. I was winning the game. But then week 2 hit, and the psychological honeymoon ended abruptly. By day 12, the initial excitement wore off, and a deep, annoying friction crept in. The routine of meal prepping started to taste bland. The automated walls I built began to feel less like a fortress and more like a cage. My brain was actively craving the cheap dopamine of a quick purchase. Every digital billboard on my commute felt louder, pushing me to just upgrade, just indulge, just live a little. Then came the real test. Late Thursday evening, my phone buzzed. It was a group text from my closest college friends. One of them had just landed a major promotion at work. To celebrate, they were booking a table for the upcoming weekend at a high-end restaurant, a place with a Michelin star, where a standard dinner easily clears $150 per person before drinks. Instantly, my stomach dropped. My rational system, the rules of the self-made wealthy, gave me a clear, immediate answer. Say no. It's an expense that does not align with your true financial freedom. It's paying for an image.
But my human brain? My human brain was screaming. The fear of missing out, FOMO, hit me like a physical wall. In Western culture, turning down a milestone celebration with your inner circle isn't just about saving cash. It feels like a rejection of the relationship itself. If I go and sit there with a glass of tap water, I become the awkward, miserable friend who ruins the mood. If I don't go, I'm the guy who doesn't care about his friend's success. This was the exact moment my rational financial systems crashed head-on into my primal social instincts. I was about to find out that the hardest part of building real wealth isn't managing the money, it's managing the human beings around you. So I went. On day 15, I found myself sitting at that dimly lit Michelin-starred table. Around me, wine was pouring, $40 entrees were being ordered without a second thought, and the laughter was loud. Then the waiter turned to me. "Just tap water for now, thank you, and I'll pass on the main course." The table went dead silent. My friends looked at me, completely bewildered. Someone made a joke about me being cheap, but the vibe had already shifted. For the rest of the night, the conversation felt forced around me. I was physically there, but socially I was completely isolated. That night, walking back to the subway in the freezing air, I realized a heavy, bitter truth that financial gurus on YouTube never talk about. In Western culture, money is more than just currency. It is a social lubricant. It is how we bond, how we network, and how we show up for the people we care about. When you completely cut off your spending, you aren't just protecting your bank account, you are actively severing the invisible threads that tie you to your social circle. The first thing to starve during a radical financial cleanse isn't your body, it's your relationships. Just as I was processing this social hangover, day 18 threw another wrench into the system. I accidentally dropped my iPhone on the concrete pavement. The screen shattered into a spiderweb of cracks. Normally, the script for a standard consumer is automatic. You don't think. You walk straight into the Apple Store, sign up for a carrier financing plan, and walk out with a brand new $1,200 device for just $35 a month. It feels painless. It feels normal. But I had to follow the strict rules of the self-made wealthy. Technology is a tool, not a status symbol. Repair and reuse unless it is entirely dead. So I ignored the shiny Apple Store. Instead, I hunted down a tiny, cramped third-party repair shop in a sketchy part of town. The guy behind the counter replaced the glass in 20 minutes. Total cost? $60. Cash. I saved over $1,000 that day, but the internal friction was real. Pulling out a cracked, repaired phone in a meeting at work felt uncomfortable. I felt judged. I felt like I was broadcasting a signal to the world that I was struggling, that I wasn't successful. And that is exactly when the psychological trap became crystal clear to me. We don't buy new tech because the old one stops working. We buy it because we are terrified of looking left behind. We buy it to signal competency, success, and belonging. By the end of week 3, I had officially reached the cultural breaking point of the challenge. I wasn't just fighting my own desires anymore. I was fighting an entire economic and social infrastructure designed to keep me spending. The pressure to conform, to look wealthy, and to participate in the consumer ritual was constant. Every single day became a quiet, exhausting battle between my long-term logic and my primal need to fit in. I was saving money, yes, my spreadsheet looked beautiful, but my mental energy was running on absolute empty. And that brings us to the final stretch, the last 10 days. This is where the experiment took its final, most important turn. Because as my willpower began to completely fracture, I stumbled upon the hidden psychological mechanism that self-made millionaires actually use to survive this pressure without losing their minds. And it has nothing to do with being cheap. Let's head into the final week. By day 22, something strange happened. The noise inside my head finally stopped. The constant nagging urge to scroll through Amazon or check food delivery apps just faded away. My brain had officially rewired itself. Instead of wasting my Friday nights spending $80 at a crowded bar, I stayed in. I opened a financial book. I spent hours practicing a new high-income digital skill. And that is when I understood what the wealthy actually mean when they say time has compound interest. A single hour a day spent consuming knowledge instead of mindless content doesn't just make you smarter. It widens the gap between you and the rest of the population exponentially over a few short years. But more importantly, this was the week I finally decoded the underlying science of consumerism. I stumbled upon a classic study from the Journal of Consumer Research about a phenomenon called the Diderot effect. It explains that obtaining a new possession often creates a spiral of consumption that forces you to buy entirely new things you never needed in the first place. Think about it. You don't just buy a new sofa. You buy the sofa, then you realize your carpet looks old, so you replace the carpet. Then the coffee table doesn't match, so you buy a new table. By refusing that first domino, by turning down the new car, the new phone, or the luxury furniture, I wasn't just saving a few bucks. I was actively cutting off a 7-year chain reaction of compounding debt before it could even begin. Yet, as the financial math proved flawless, the psychological reality was catching up to me. And this is where the real data gets scary. According to recent reports by the Federal Reserve, a massive percentage of young adults in Western societies fail their financial goals not because they lack information, but because they hit a wall called frugal fatigue. It's a documented state of cognitive exhaustion. When you use pure, raw willpower to constantly say no to everything around you in a culture designed for yes, your brain eventually snaps. Your self-control completely breaks down, leading to massive, destructive revenge spending. I was right on the edge of that cliff. My willpower was completely empty. But as I looked at the self-made millionaires, I realized they don't suffer from frugal fatigue. Why? Because they don't use willpower at all. They use an environmental system. The breakthrough came when I realized that your environment is your destiny. If your social feed is packed with influencers flashing luxury travel and your friend group normalizes lifestyle inflation, your brain will eventually treat overconsumption as the baseline for survival. Peer pressure isn't just an emotional issue, it is a financial variable. So I stopped fighting the environment and started engineering it. I didn't just hide my shopping apps, I systematically blocked the marketing channels. I ruthlessly unfollowed every single social media account that promoted a hyper-consumer lifestyle. I quietly muted the group chats that did nothing but plan the next expensive weekend outing, and instead I sought out circles of people who focused heavily on long-term wealth, investing, and scaling businesses. I shifted my entire default reality. Once the toxic visual triggers were completely gone, the temptation evaporated. I didn't need willpower anymore because the trap was no longer in front of my face. I had successfully transitioned from merely knowing the rules of money to deeply understanding the entire game. By day 30, the experiment was officially over. The invisible dust settled, the tracking spreadsheet was completely locked, and the final numbers were stared down. What I saw on that screen changed my entire perspective on what it actually takes to survive in a modern economy. Let's take a look at the final damage, the exact dollar amount saved, and the ultimate verdict on whether this radical lifestyle is actually worth it. So here's the final damage. 30 days, no mindless consumerism, no checking out. The tracking spreadsheet doesn't lie. By radically freezing those unconscious everyday habits, I saved exactly $1,150 in just 4 weeks. But here's the real takeaway. Truly building wealth is not about turning yourself into a miserable miser, hoarding pennies in a dark room and hiding from the world. That's a trap. True financial freedom is about clarity. It is the raw ability to calculate the future value of your money so deeply that you naturally lose interest in buying fake temporary status in the present. That $1,150? It didn't go back into my checking account to be spent on a celebratory weekend. It has already been transferred straight into a low-cost index fund, allowing compound interest to do its quiet mathematical magic over the next 30 years. Looking back, the rules were a double-edged sword. Eliminating high-interest credit debt completely saved my financial future, but cutting off my social spending almost cost me some of my closest friendships. It's a brutal, realistic trade-off. So now, I want to put the ball in your court. If you were in my shoes, would you actually turn down a milestone dinner with your best friends just to keep $100 in your investment account? Is the future freedom worth the present isolation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's turn it into a debate. And if you want to stop your hard-earned money from disappearing into the dark, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next game.